Welcome back to another episode of Psycosmos. Today we have Andrew again. He's going to fill us in on the real truths of the law. Stay tuned for more. Andrew, as always, it's a pleasure. This is our now third podcast. We're already setting up a fourth one that's going to be on the way here. Probably a part 2 for this one. But Andrew, if you didn't know, he's this guy that I saw on TikTok. He's got a pretty big following, and he has a phenomenal amount of information on the legalities of our current Western world and how we can kind of maneuver around some of these things that, you know, they lie to us about. So, Andrew, again, great guy. I had him on a couple other podcasts. Go check those other podcasts out if you want. Go follow him on all of his social media. But Andrew, I'd love to just let you take it away, so feel free. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you again, Matt. I'm glad to be here. The last 2 we did were fantastic. I had a great time, and I was going to pick up on some of those things that we didn't mention last time. And so I've taken some notes, and I kind of wrote out a little bit of an outline here. I'm on this latest kick lately of saving things in this country or in this Western world, not through adding additional legislation, but by repealing legislations that are maybe unnecessary. And I'm a little bit on the extreme end, thinking there's really only 3 documents that we do need. And I was going to reference those here today.
Sure.
And so the 3 documents are the Declaration of Independence, the original Constitution, and then part of that is the Bill of Rights, the original 10 amendments.
Those were going to be my guesses. All 3 of those. Yeah. That's what I was going to... Yeah, those are my guesses, yeah. Okay.
You're a very intuitive mind, man. I appreciate this.
Appreciate it.
I know that that's extreme. I know that would get rid of a lot of things, and I know that people are a little bit maybe uncomfortable with that. However, we could build again from there. It's not like it would have to permanently stay there. And my assertion is, go into our neighborhoods, collect ourselves in groups of 100, and govern ourselves based on those 3 documents. And I don't know, have you ever read those documents yourself?
So, Bill of Rights and the Constitution, yes, I've read them pretty much all the way through, but that was like, I would never be able to repeat that stuff to you. That was like way back in high school, because I went to high school partially in the South, so they were really big on that. Declaration of Independence, I cannot say, even though it's short, I cannot say I've actually sat down and read the whole thing, and I would be willing to bet that most Americans probably haven't read all 3 of those either, all the way through, yeah.
I agree with you. Even my older generations, my parents' generation, and my grandparents' generation. The thing is, people are so preoccupied, I think, that who has the mind to do that? And then some people are not tech savvy, so they're not looking it up online. These things are free and available online, right?
Of course.
And so actually what happened to me, a very goofy situation, as I was checking the mail, this book was right there. It's the Citizen and Constitution textbook for what looks to me like either a middle school or high school level history class, social studies class, right? And in the back is the Declaration of Independence, and we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in there as well. And I took the time to read them. And I'm 31 years old, and I had never done that until this time in my life. So I encourage your viewers to not shame themselves for never having read these things, because neither did I. And then when I did, I was like, oh my goodness. They were talking about, 200 years ago, they were talking about what we seem to be experiencing right this very moment, right?
Yep.
So that's why I bring up these things, and I wanted to present them in an easy video format for your viewers. So I'm just going to jump right into the Declaration of Independence right away. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to read this chunk here, because I think that, you'll see. So if you don't mind, here I go. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
So basically the opposite of what we got today.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
And It's a silly thing that everything seems to have gotten inverted. We've talked about this, and now they have corporations pretending to be governments, and it's just a messy mess, right? But the great thing is it's written down, and furthermore, we've talked about natural law, right?
Hmm.
Anything that's not causing loss, injury, or harm to our fellow man, or woman, or animals is our right to engage in. And then it is also, oh, I didn't write the code down, but there's a code in the UCC which pretty much specifically states that all of these codes have to first abide by common law. So, I mean, there's really no way to uh, make the natural law and our rights. They can't put a lien on. They're unalienable. The only way we can do away with those is if we volunteer them away for the sake of convenience.
Hmm.
And
A lot of people do.
anyhow, I think it's the norm. Even when I apply for jobs, they want us to do the paperwork online in a electronic format because of the convenience, right? And then I can't sign my name properly. I can't write in by. I can't put that I'm the grantor of the trust. I can't put a period. I can't do these things, right? I can't
Mm.
protect my rights. I can't write up on top like, void where prohibited by law, without prejudice. I can't write in these things on just simply the signature. And so think of how many millions of people are going with convenience, and well, look at what happens.
Yep,
Right.
yep. It's atrocious, and like you said, it's a bunch of distractions. Most people don't read the Declaration of Independence, like you said, but everybody's sitting here waiting. Is Trump going to get arrested? I don't know. What's going on? Everybody's sitting here. A lot of people want to pretend like they're good Americans, but they don't know the common stuff. And even me, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not in that boat too. Like I said, I didn't read most of this stuff either. But I think it goes even beyond that, where if we really want to take up our sovereignty and we really want to be our own independent people, like we really actually want to be considered people, then
Yeah.
change needs to start. And now I want to back that also by saying I think that there's a lot of rhetoric right now which is structuring itself towards, and I'm not trying to be a fearmonger here. I'm saying the propaganda is structuring itself towards a civil war situation, in which case these issues would come back up. That's what we're seeing with this whole Donald Trump thing. That's what we're seeing with a lot of this stuff. So I think that overall, the point I'm getting at is, even our own government in the Western world, in America today, they have this agenda, and they're not really honest and upfront about what that agenda is. And I think partially there are people who are in the government that actually want it to be overtaken, overrun. We see like the January 6th thing. There's all these complicated things that are popping up with a lot of CNN, Fox News, whatever, they're all blasting out civil war, scary, blah, blah, blah. I think that what they're really trying to do is piss off Americans and have us finally come to terms with what our natural laws are, so we can stop being kind of babied off of this system, gain control of our trusts, and actually go out and do the good work. I don't like the way they're doing it, but if that's the end goal, then that's what I want. So that ultimately, yeah, I think that's where we're headed. But I'm sorry I interrupted you, please.
No, don't be sorry. That's a very interesting thing. I want to just comment on a couple things you mentioned.
Mm,
First of all, the arrest of Trump.
mm,
The only way, in my opinion, if you want to bring evidence to a certain corrupt situation, it's very difficult to do outside of a court of law.
mm-hmm.
And what would be a great way to submit evidence is if you got your own enemy to arrest you, and then you can then submit evidence against them in a court of law. And so there can be a procedure where evidence is submitted and they stepped in the trap themselves, right? Maybe that's what's going on in that particular situation. I don't really know. I can only speculate, but I think that there's a good amount of yeah, I think that would be a smart play or an intelligent play.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I've got friends in the intelligence community who have said, instead of having the people come together and following the Declaration of Independence and abolishing a corrupt government, what they'd rather have is instate a civil war. And so that's you're kind of nail on the head with that one. So that's a real effort at the moment. Is they're trying to instigate a civil war.
All the puzzle pieces are there. Yeah, all the if you're paying attention over the last 3 to 4 years, especially, let alone the last decade, you're seeing it. You're seeing that it's not that there is one on the horizon; it's that they want to make one. And how do we do that? Laws, public officials going to jail or whatever. All this crap. It's going to be a very interesting next year and a half leading up into this next election. I don't think that this next election is going to be anywhere close to any of the other ones that we've had, because I think that we're going to be in some weird situation. But that's just me prefacing. I'm not a future predictor. That's just me guessing.
That's fair. The last one was weird.
Mm-hmm.
The last one was
very strange. Yeah. Can't talk about that, can we? No. Yeah. Very strange indeed. Lots of evidence there, but apparently no evidence.
Suitcase is full, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, suitcase is full. But we could go on forever. But please, I'll pass it back to you. I'm rambling.
No, we're enjoying a nice conversation. This is nice. So I wanted to we should read this. It's only, look at how many pages this document is. This is the Declaration of Independence. Okay? And then it's done.
Wow.
Okay? So that's it, right? So I just wanted to mention a couple of quick things here. It references the reason that they wrote this thing because of all of the frustrations they had with the great king of Britain at the time. And so here was some of the things they reference. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payment of their salaries. So that sounds familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's erected a multitude of offices and sent hither swarms of offices to harass our people and eat out their substance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
Mm-hmm.
He has combined with others to subject to us a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of the state, right? So we don't even have real trials going on, and that's legit. For imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases for the benefits of a trial by jury, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. So they were frustrated with things that are seeming to be happening again, right?
Yep.
And so it's all in there, and I highly recommend people check that out. Very quick read, and I'm going to move on to the Constitution real fast. This is the preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, I wanted to get into the different articles, but I'm going to just glaze into them, okay? Because this one is a little bit longer than the Declaration of Independence, and rightfully so, but it's still only, what is this? Less than 10 pages, okay? Right? So, I mean, it's doable. There's a reason it's in this book, right? And all color-coded and very, I mean, even a child can do this. So, we've got... In Article 1, it's the legislative branch, and the main thing I would direct our attention to in the legislative branch here is that no other authority has the ability to create rules. It's in Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. That's the only people that can make rules, not these different agencies, not the, and that EPA versus West Virginia is a good example of that being right there and then, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think in part 2, I'm going to go more into the Constitution, so the one that we'll maybe do later today, but I want to then now jump over to... Give me a second, sorry.
No, take your time. Take your time.
Okay. Appreciate you. There was something we mentioned last time about how the police actually owe us no... specific duty to ensure our safety, and that is a decision from the Supreme Court case Warren versus the District of Columbia. And it specifically holds exactly what I just said. The police do not owe a specific duty to ensure the safety and well-being of an individual.
Right.
And so who is in charge of our safety? Well, I think that it comes down to the Bill of Rights, specifically the Second Amendment, right? And so we have the Second Amendment, I'll read it here. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And so it's right there, and then we can't delegate out our own personal safety. It is our own responsibility to keep ourselves safe. And if we have a well-regulated militia amongst ourselves, what's the point of having a private security force of a corporation, right? A police force.
Right. Right.
So
Well, Second Amendment. A lot of people don't like that one.
yes, which and they seem to bash it as a conservative ideal, but think of how liberal it actually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It
It's
is.
pro it's
Yeah.
probably the most liberal thing you can imagine, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. But.
everybody has guns, shall not be infringed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's actually a lot of people who are in those types of areas feel a lot more safer too, and that's kind of the beauty of that Second Amendment law, which of course now we're trying to see people infringe upon even in our own government. So yeah, it's one of those situations where they're trying to really, again, this plays into that conversation we had earlier. They're trying to play into these fear mongering tactics to get the American people to pull the trigger first. They don't want to be the ones to. This is really like the American people are pissed off, and then you have the executive Congress, military, all this. And even Biden has come out and said, well, if you want to try to do an uprising, which is our constitutional right, you just read it.
Yeah.
If you want to provoke an uprising, you're going to need more than an AR-15. I'll just send like a drone to strike down your house in the own country of America. It's absolutely crazy, makes no sense. So really what they're trying to do is piss off the American people to incentivize them to rally together and pull the trigger. And it could be for one of two reasons, and I've really thought about this, and I think it's actually both. I think that there's two sides of this coin. One side are real patriotic Americans that really want to see the American people live up to their expectations of the rights and the Declaration and all this stuff, and actually go out and make the change and overthrow the government and make a perfect America again. But I think there's another group of people who want those people to expose themselves so that they can fire guns at them and kill them, and then all they have left are the people who would never oppose the government, and then they will easily and gladly give up their rights for the comfortability, as you were mentioning, because those people are all over America too. So I think there's this duality, and I mean honestly, I'm just looking at it laughing, because I'm like, you're not that good at propaganda these days. Like they're not that good at what they're trying to do and hiding it and all this stuff. So yeah. I'm hoping that it's a more positive outcome, but again, if anybody's been paying attention over the last number of years, it's really just about exposing yourself for that one part of the government which really does not have our best interests in mind. I do think that there are some good people in our government who are trying, but they just don't have the right answers. They don't have people like us who are having these types of conversations, who actually know this stuff. I mean, these are just politicians. They don't have to know any of this stuff. They just have to know what their day-to-day tasks are and do their job like anybody else. So these people actually don't have any. And as I mentioned to you before, I worked for a private company that worked in the public sector. So I dealt with government officials all the time, and it's a very, once your job is done at 5 o'clock, you cannot work overtime. You must go home. There is no overworking. You must take your breaks. If something doesn't get done, don't worry about it. It's fine, because we don't care. And the way that our government is structured to operate, it's no wonder why we suck so bad right now in terms of economics, politics, anything. We are in a detriment, and it's been enacted that way on purpose. And I think it's just a big shit test. It's literally, America is our crazy ex-girlfriend, and she's trying to shit test us to figure out, do you actually like me? Do you actually love me? Oh, well, then die for me. Everybody get in a group and try to invoke the Civil War. Then prove to me that you love America. That's what I feel like our government is. They're acting like a bunch of teenage girls. I'm serious. That's what I look at it. I'm like, so you lie in the news. You lie about what's going on. You're trying to get everybody else to fight each other, but you don't want anybody to look at you. And this is all for the American public to just do what you want. You're a teenage girl. This is really what this is what our country's evolved into. But it makes sense because our president loves teenage girls, so it's whatever. So moving beyond, I don't know if I'll keep that in, but moving beyond that point, please please go ahead and continue, because we do have a couple of minutes here. We got about 8 minutes here, but please continue. Sure. On it. I'll let you go.
Leave it in. And
leave it in.
I think that that was one of the most entertaining metaphors that I've ever heard regarding our current situation, and it's frustrating. And I wanted to touch back on a very real statistic, and Ted Nugent has even spoke on this. I mean, it's real, and there's a lot of resistance to this very real statistic. Where there is a larger amount of responsibly owned firearms, there is the rate of crime is lower.
Right.
Period.
Period.
That's it.
It's one for one, and it's in almost every single demographic, every single city, every single town that has Second Amendment laws. If they have if they have regulations, crime goes up. If they don't have regulations and they allow the public to carry, safely, then and people act like it's so easy to get a gun, but I really like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because they always like to do these juxtapositions. There's this one episode where these two characters go in, they're trying to buy a gun, and the gun owner guy's really cool, and they're like, oh yeah, I bet I could just buy this AR-15 and just go kill a bunch of people, couldn't I? He's like, well, no, we got to do a background check. He does a background check, and he's like, no, you guys are crazy. I'm not going to sell these guns to you. And they're like, that's fine, we'll just go to the black market. And they try the whole time to get a gun illegally, and I don't remember, I think the end of the episode they just end up getting hooked on crack or something, but like the whole point of it was to prove crazy people don't get guns. People with crazy backgrounds can't get access to firearms and weaponry. Only criminals have that capability because they already have their own little networks. So again, this is kind of a beaten dead horse issue, but taking guns away from the people is just a ploy. It's just a ploy by the government to take our power away from us, rather than actually say, well, it's actually safer if you don't know who's carrying a gun, you're not going to go up into a place and shoot it. Whereas if you look at where a lot of the shootings have been happening, they're in very liberal areas. And then they act like
gun-free zones.
Right, gun-free zones, right. And then they'll play into that and they'll say, oh, well, the people who got shot were liberals, so this is clearly, a right-wing issue. It's like, no, but if you look at the guy who's this whack job who was on Reddit living in his mom's basement forever, and, he was a super hyper-liberal, and he had all these other issues with him. So it's very interesting to see that. And that doesn't mean that there aren't right-wing crazies too, but the propaganda is just insane towards these guns right now, yeah.
Yes, I agree, and let's touch on that real quick, and we'll get back to my curriculum in part two. But
Yeah.
Here's a huge thing: to vilify the individual in order to make them different than ourselves is probably irresponsible. And here's what I mean, right? So you mentioned the extreme of a right or extreme of a left, or this Reddit reading, mom's mother's basement crazy. Like, these different qualities are things that we put onto someone else in order to be like, oh, well, they're not like me. Well, what we need to recognize is that they're exactly like us.
Yeah.
Those people who have been driven to think that they need to do that act
they're in
are
pain.
Exactly like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And to make them out to be something unique and different is probably one of the stem causes of perpetuating such
It's irresponsible.
an act.
It condones it. You're right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So these people are exactly like us, and they just have, they're in pain, and they think that is the answer. And you want to know something? The people that make something illegal are the ones that also supply it on the black market. And so, if I'm trying to run fentanyl,
Yeah.
then I'm going to make it illegal, and then I'm going to pump it into the black market, and then I'm going to cash in on it, because now there's no regulation on the black market.
Right.
And then I'm going to make everybody, so like the same people who are acting like it's such a high and mighty thing to create gun laws I say, get everybody educated, every single person, because we just established that they're just like us, right?
Yep.
So if we have a responsible education and get everybody the ability to not only purchase guns without a background check, but to be able to print a gun right from their own house from a 3D printer and without any serial numbers, I'm there. That's where I'm at, because they would be responsibly owned at that point because the education was there. And then everybody would have one. Mm-hmm. And now we are defending against a black market situation that has no control anymore.
And that's liberalism at its core. That's what it really is supposed to be. But the term now is something a little bit different. But yeah, that's essentially what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be you're able to have your free rights to do whatever you want. And people take that, they take that a mile away, but still, it's...
shall not be infringed.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going off of.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do have a couple minutes here. I wanted to know what your closing remarks were, so that we can get everybody set up for a part two. Maybe give everybody a little bit of a teaser as to what the part two in this is going to entail.
You bet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the Constitution. I'm just going to introduce each article and then just name the sections of the article so that you can familiarize yourself and have a little bit of knowledge before you go and read it. And then I'm going to go through specific amendments of the Constitution and mention where specifically Marbury versus Madison, Norton versus Shelby County, Supreme Court case decisions fit in. That's actually in Article 6, Section number 2 of the Constitution. But I also wanted to talk about the Bill of Rights, how the First Amendment offers the free exercise of our religion. Meaning like vaxes and mask mandates are directly, any infringement of your religious practice is null and void. And then the Second Amendment talking about Warren versus. I would just like to talk a little bit more on the Bill of Rights.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
what's coming up.
Yeah, okay, great. So we will definitely get you set in for that part 2 very, very soon. But yeah, go follow Andrew. He is GrowThroughDeceit on TikTok. That's his brand. Go check him out. Go follow him. Give him all the love and attention. I know there was a ton of people in the contents who wanted to get into contact with him. Do you have an email or do you have a way that people can actually reach out to you and contact you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you my Linktree link because all of my ways that you can directly email me, you can get in touch. I have a bunch of different socials, right? And one thing I'm building a Discord right now
Great.
to really build up that community. And one thing I would mention is I'm creating a rebuttal boot camp where I'm teaching people how to verbally and in written form rebut any presumptions of jurisdiction brought on by any policy enforcement or judges. So that's going to be a very fun thing. So if you want to pay to have someone yell at you in the same way that they will, we'll do it for you.
That's awesome. That's actually really great. So it's a way to kind of train you so you have muscle memory. Like get your crap away from me. You and your BS coming out of your mouth trying to scare me right now. You don't got shit on my rights. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome because that is a big thing where people they get in trouble. Oh no, the teachers, mom and dad are coming down the hallway and they're gonna slap me on the wrist. It's the government. The police are here. It's like don't let these people infringe your rights. That's really what we're getting at. So love you, Andrew. Thank you so much for all the time and attention that you give us and all the wisdom and information. Of course. And we're going to get you on that part 2 very soon. Go check him out and stay tuned for more, guys. Take care.